Hello, folks. We're back with another episode of YLG Canada Immigration Podcast, where all your immigration questions will be answered by an experienced immigration lawyer. Here with me is Afshin Yazdani, a barrister and solicitor from Toronto, Ontario. I'm so glad to have you back here.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Today, we'll be talking about New Brunswick Provincial Nominee Program. So this is great news for those entrepreneurs out there looking into obtaining a Canadian PR through NBPNP. Let's just start with the basics. What do we need to know about this program?
Well, Ryan, simply the New Brunswick is an economic immigration program which is for experienced entrepreneurs who are ready to establish, operate, and actively manage a business in New Brunswick while they are living and settling there permanently.
So Afshin, you said that this is a program for entrepreneurs. Is this the same thing as an investment plan?
Right at the beginning of the guideline under New Brunswick PNP program, it says you must be ready to establish, operate, and actively manage a business in New Brunswick. So it's not a passive investment. You need to establish, operate, and actively manage.
Got it. So it's not like about having the money, you need to have the idea as well, right?
It's not necessary to have the idea. Definitely for any kind of business in Canada, like any other countries, you must have a business plan. And I'm going to explain later on how these things work, but that was a good question because sometimes people think if I invest, for example, $250,000 in a specific province in Canada, then I can get my PR and I don't have any other obligation. But this is not right because you need to operate and actively manage a business. It's an economic class category, so they're asking you if you can come and benefit Canadians in Canada while operating your business.
Interesting. We're going to dig in more in just a second. I assume it's time we talked about the requirements. So what are the prerequisites?
Well, Ryan, there is something nice about this program. Even inside the guideline, they say, are you PR ready?
I've seen that. Yeah, what does it mean?
Sometimes people get confused about this because they say, what do you mean if I'm already a PR in Canada? No, it means that you meet all minimum eligibility requirement and selection factors and have all required document on hand to prepare and submit a complete and correct application to the New Brunswick. So it means you have them all in your hand, and so you can submit it. The thing is, Ryan, before explaining about what are those minimum eligibility requirement and selection factors, I would like to highlight one point. It's about the stages. Many people asking me, for example, if I have application for NPPMP program, having a file in Canada Immigration Office. To answer that thing, I need to explain the stages. NBPMP applications usually require two stages, two types of approvals, and then each of them is separate. Because in Canada, I don't know if you know about this or not. It's like in Canada we have a provincial government and a federal government. In a provincial government, they have some jurisdiction, they have some legislation, they have some power to do, and then we have a federal government. The PR or immigration office is under federal jurisdiction, so the province cannot issue a visa. The province can nominate you, but after nomination you must go and apply for a visa or a PR to the Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, which is a federal.
Makes sense.
So if you have file in a nomination stage, you don't have file yet before Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada.
Interesting. So I just want to make sure that I got it right. The province would be the mediator between me and the federal government.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, every province has a power and a jurisdiction to appoint or nominate their immigrant to develop or help the economy of the province.
But at the end of the day, it's the federal government making decisions on who enters the country.
Exactly. So even if you have a nomination certificate, it doesn't guarantee you will get the PR or visa. So it's exclusively under federal government jurisdiction to do that. I want to explain this because people sometimes get confused. They say, okay, I got refusal from Saskatchewan nominee program. Can I apply now under New Brunswick program? I would say yes, because you didn't have a nomination yet. But you need to disclose this. I'm going to explain later on if you don't disclose this information.
That could lead to refusal, right?
Yeah, that could be a refusal. It's called misrepresentation.
You are listening to YLG Podcast with Afshin Yazdani, exploring the latest news, tips, and strategies about immigration to Canada.
So, can you go over the two stages for us?
Yeah, sure. Stage 1 is application to NB PNP for a nomination certificate. For doing that, you must meet all eligibility criteria and selection factors. So it's simply by applying to New Brunswick PNP program by registering online and submitting something they call EOI, is expression of interest. Then if you have invitation to apply, which also known as ITA, it's sent to your attention, then you can submit a full application online. Then there is a processing, and then you might ask to attend an interview. And then if you get a nomination at the end, nomination certificate, you move to the stage 2. On a stage 2, you apply to IRCC, which is again Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada, for a PR visa. We have in Canada TR visa and a PR visa. The TR visa is like a temporary resident visa.
Okay.
But the PR is a permanent resident visa, which is, again, is the unique about this program. You can apply for a PR visa straight away.
Okay. But you can't necessarily do that with other programs for other provinces, right?
But there are some other provinces, they have a PR visa, but very, very limited. So I'm going to explain this later on in other episodes. But on this, the thing is, this is one of the top PR stream PNP program in Canada.
Okay. Who can apply then? What are the eligibility requirements?
Well, Ryan, there are requirements, as I mentioned before, the requirement for a nomination, and then there is a requirement for a PR application. The main thing is, if you get your nomination, you're going to meet the PR application requirement too.
Which is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, like a federal government say, okay, you got the nomination, then you can apply through me, and then I'm going to give you the PR if you meet the admissibility criteria too, because in Canada we have eligibility and admissibility. The eligibility criteria is like more about age, language, education, personal net worth, business ownership, or a senior management experience, business concept, and some other thing. But for admissibility is something else. are you admissible to Canada or not?
Like you're not a criminal.
You are not a criminal, for example. You should get police certificate, or you need to get a medical exam passed, and then you need to have real intention to do the business in Canada. So for example, the thing is, I'm going to explain later, and say, for example, there is a deposit or a security deposit here in New Brunswick program, ask you to deposit some fund in case if you don't do what you promised about like running the business in Canada, in New Brunswick. When we are saying New Brunswick PNP program, it means you're gonna do everything inside the New Brunswick. It doesn't matter if you go, for example, say, okay, I don't like this province, I want to go to Ontario, I want to go to BC, I want to go somewhere else. And then it says, again, you will be in trouble. If you do this, you already pay some money to as a guarantee, so you're going to lose it. But the point is, again, I'm sure you know about this. In Canada, we have a charter other than Constitution Act. And inside the charter, you have any PR, like a citizens, they have mobility right. So they cannot force you to stay in some province if you have a PR. That's why New Brunswick program says, okay, you will pay me if you move. So that's the only thing. So, and sometimes people, they don't care and say, okay, I'm not going to stay here, and I'm fine with losing 100,000, which is, again, is not something. If New Brunswick Immigration Office figured you have the bad intention to pay and then move by losing 100,000, that will be a misrepresentation. That will be a refusal again. There is something, expression of interest, or EOI, is a point-based system. It means you're going to get inside, and then you need to meet the minimum points to become eligible inside that nomination program. So I explained like before about the stages. And first stage, I said you need to apply through EOI, expression of interest.
That was the first stage.
Yeah, first stage. When you do that, you need to have minimum score of 65 points under this program.
And you're going to explain how we calculate the scores, right?
Yeah, exactly. Another point is, if you meet the minimum of 65 points, again, doesn't guarantee you will get invitation to apply, because it's kind of competition between you and some other candidate who has a better score. We can check, for example, there is a draw during a year. There are certain times they do drawing, and then the draw, it says, for example, last time we draw, that was the minimum point, which is usually above the minimum
65. Okay.
Usually they ask for 80, for example, or even more. If someone come to you and say, okay, Ryan, you are okay because you meet the minimum of 65 points.
Fiercely competitive. Okay.
It's not like that.
You know what? You have to compete if you want to move to a great place like Canada, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for listening to another episode of YLG Canada Immigration Podcast with Afshin Yazdani. You can get more information on immigration to Canada from ylgpc.ca. Do tune in next time, as we're going to unpack some other mysteries of immigration to Canada. Take care.